Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Lianov, and I'm the president and founder of the Global Positive Health Institute. And this is our podcast where we conduct interviews with a variety of experts on lifestyle medicine and positive psychology and everything related to our happiness and health. And so today I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Ingrid Edshteyn. She's a longtime dear friend and also a preventive medicine and lifestyle medicine physician. And she's founder of Valia Lifestyle. Welcome, Ingrid.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here. I'm very happy to be part of the GPHI podcasts and of the mission that you've been building for many years. So thank you so much for having this conversation together.
Yes, thank you. And let's dive in and please share with us what first grabbed your attention towards lifestyle medicine, or what we're now calling lifestyle medicine. For a number of years, it was really just promoting healthy lifestyles as part of prevention, as well as this link that the Global Positive Health Institute is focusing on with positive emotions and positive psychology. What sort of drew your attention to that?
I think that's such a good way of introducing and my response of what we now call lifestyle medicine. I think pretty much since I was a kid growing up, I've always been interested in natural health and healing. I think I had a textbook on naturopathic medicine when I was like 10. And there's something about the interconnection of biology and nature and plant medicine. And I was always trying to find my way in med school, and through this whole process of figuring out what will I do when I'm all grown up. And it was a long journey, different paths, different routes. I was very fortunate to really have stumbled upon preventive medicine. And it was the first time in my medical training where I felt like, my people, this is good. This feels right to me. This is, at that time, lifestyle medicine was really just starting out. This was, several years into the founding of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. I had met with some fantastic mentors who really were supportive, yourself included, in this journey. And I think that's one of the key elements for me of it's the people, and they're just very pure, kind-hearted mission, bringing health and well-being, which felt very deficient in our medical training. It was very much about what's wrong with you. And that makes sense, right? There's a lot of things that can go wrong. We need to learn about all of them, all the nuts and bolts of that. But what felt missing was this, well, what's going right with you? What's going well? What can we enhance? What can we leverage? And growing up, I had so much interest in martial arts and yoga and meditation. And as I think back now, had I not gone to med school, or an alternative I was considering was actually doing a positive psychology master's program at UPenn. So who knows what that direction would have taken me. But all to say, I've always been really hoping to bring together this mind-body medicine, this positive psychology into a clinical practice. And I found a home for myself with my crew in preventive and lifestyle medicine.
Yeah, actually, I've just learned something. All these years, I actually don't know if I knew that you were thinking about doing the University of Pennsylvania's Master's in Applied Positive Psychology. There's some wonderful like-minded colleagues there. Tell us a little bit about how you're using these principles of healthy lifestyles and positive psychology in your own life.
Yes, it's kind of on that theme of before it had the name of lifestyle medicine. What does it mean? What are those pillars of healthy living that allow you to feel alive and clear and flourishing, not just for yourself? I think that's the other big part of it, but to be able to shine more brightly for others, for social community as well. So I think all those pillars are really fundamental, and different times, different ways, different percentages. In nutrition, for example, such a big part. We are what we eat. The process of transformation, of energy transformation, is incredible. And just seeing how that impacts our mental health has really been important for me. And that's really been a big part of my decision on food choices, especially given a history of the stressful situations in medical training. I think nutrition's a key pillar there. And I would say the other main thread throughout growing up, in college, when I was in martial arts training, it was a Buddhist focused martial arts. So it was very much an internal practice as well. And then throughout my residency training, I was very fortunate to meet these mentors in medical fitness. And I always knew, like, I love movement, yoga, and different sports and activities, but I never really knew the science behind it. And then I learned more and more about not just cardiovascular fitness, but resistance training and strength training. And for me personally, that's really been just a real key pillar for mental health in particular. I think, yes, there are numerous benefits for physical health. The list, like, what does it not help, treat, or cure, or ameliorate? But I think even more so in the last several years, there's been this recognition of movement, exercise, and its role in mental health. All different mechanisms, a whole other topic I'd love to deep dive into. There's terrific research on that. The American College of Sports Medicine and a lot of our advisors at GPHI as well. So that's really been the foundation for me, because I know when it's missing, what not good feels like. And so throughout the years, that's been the main thread. And into professional practice. So it's really influenced my decisions around what does lifestyle medicine in practice look like. And so in the last several years, I've been building up this medical fitness studio where it incorporates the movement, the resistance training for everybody as a prescription, as an exercise prescription, that also, by the way, just happens to benefit our mental and emotional well-being as well as social support. So I've really loved that aspect in particular. It's made a profound difference in my own health and well-being, and just my own experiences in the studio, and seeing how this microcosm of lifestyle medicine practice can work in this type of medical fitness structure has really been lovely.
Yes, you have helped me really appreciate the power of what you've been talking about, the physical activity, mindful physical activity as therapy, and as well as the strength training. And so whenever I'm needing a little personal boost to do some of those activities, I remember some of your role modeling. So thank you for that to me personally. And you've mentioned how you're using all of these constructs in your personal life and a little in your professional life with Valia Lifestyle. Are there other ways that professionally either you've been thinking about or in the past or tried in the past to include this professionally? I know you've gone through a long professional road, or maybe how you plan to use it in the future.
Yes, so now it's an interesting phase of experimentation, and I feel, on this main element of positive psychology. To me, at the end of the day, like, what's the real core draw of all of this is, like, what's the meaning? What's the purpose? What's your experience? That's all we have. What is the experience that you're having? And I feel in the early phases, I was very, and I still am, not that I'm not now, but like very caught up in like the technicalities of it, the assessments, the questionnaires, the analytics, like that really fits my personality. I can be stuck in analysis for the next 10 lifetimes. So it gets to like the core of, well, what more can we do? And I feel that the what more aspect for lifestyle medicine has really been to increase the amount of positive psychology that's embedded within the clinical practice. And it's really, I mean, having been in primary care, trying to run my own private practice, trying to run my own fitness studio with like zero business background, it was a lot of steep learning curves. And I feel like the positive psychology was always just like, I want more. So this experimentation phase right now is I'm being more structured, and that's where I see things moving. So we've created a program, where I'm working on a program right now that's intended to be a catalyst for lifestyle behavior change. And it has weekly opportunities to practice different elements of positive psychology. I think that's really the golden nugget of this, is that there's so many different practices and tools in the toolbox. And on the topic of personality, people's selections and choices of what might be better aligned with how they work, we're offering that as a toolkit. And so each week there's a new topic. For one on character strengths, another on loving kindness type of meditation, another one on your gratitude practice, another one on just mindful awareness sitting, and at 3 different levels, so that there's the opportunity to, even if it's only 1 or 2 minutes, a simple practice, wonderful. That's something you can incorporate. And if there's time and energy and interest, wonderful. There's a medium level and a deepened level. So kind of offering a number of opportunities in which to engage. That's what I'm really focused on right now, is how can we meaningfully enhance the positive psychology in a way that makes sense in a clinical practice flow, in a way that makes sense for like, what is the client, consumer, patient willing and able to do? That's what I'm interested in right now.
Yeah. You've designed an amazing program, and not only does it cover some very important elements of a healthy lifestyle and positive psychology, but you've designed it for the variety of interest levels and personalities. Some of these elements will ring true for some people and not others. And so having choice, not only having choice of the topic or the subtopic, but also that level of depth to get involved is brilliant. And so I cheer you on, as this is a relatively new venture, but I think it's the right way to go. And along that vein, I'd love to hear your advice for our health professional audience. You've mentioned how this is a challenge to integrate into a medical practice, kind of what advice you have to integrate these things that we've been talking about.
I think it goes back to this element of inspiration and community and mentorship. I think a big part of it for me has been learning from others and seeing what are the varieties of ways in which this is being done right now in clinical practice and consumer spaces, in different just different like methods and techniques that people are using. So it's not like building everything from scratch. And so just like for this guidebook, like I'm certainly not building that from scratch. I had the assistance of an incredible health coach who's a part of my practice, and she's just phenomenal. And her asset, she's a creative writer. So thank goodness, because that's certainly not mine. So I feel like a lot of it is like leveraging the skill sets and the assets of others in the community. I feel that's the other part of the growing phase of lifestyle medicine. There's so much. There's the nutrition, there's the sleep, there's the movement, there's the mindfulness, there's the substances. There's a lot of specialties within lifestyle medicine. And I think, my tendency is I want to do them all. I want to be a specialist in like 8 specialties. And I've realized over time that leveraging the skill sets and the enthusiasm of others collaboratively is tremendously helpful, anxiety reducing. And I feel that it can create better programs. There can be just so much, in that sense, overwhelming amounts to do. And from what I'm seeing, I think back of, say, like the originals, like the Orange program for cardiac rehab. There are a number of different providers involved and different pillars of lifestyle medicine that are brought up at different times in a sequential way in which to engage. So the role of social support community, that it's really an interdisciplinary type of activity. I feel, especially when it comes to mental health, the role of coaches and therapists, and having that as part of the lifestyle medicine practice model, considering networks, affiliations, and reaching out beyond maybe our traditional field for care. And then also in this element, from what I'm learning, is just like small bite-sized pieces in the regular training. Going back to the original interest in all of this, I think, like we created the term lifestyle medicine, but I'm hearing more of is this like self-directed neuroplasticity, which to me is like, ooh, say it again. Like that really goes to this, like all these traditions on emotional self-regulation, like these yogic practices, this contemplative meditation practices. And the recommendations there are, don't wait for like one day a month to have like a 5-hour practice. It's really more of daily small bites, just rewiring, retraining, so that we can create more automatic processes. So my tendency to get overwhelmed when I think of like the enormous global empire of lifestyle medicine that needs to happen, starting where we are in this moment, the seed being planted for the future.
Sage advice. Yeah, thank you for that. I am hearing building on the strengths of others, building on what has come before, collaborating with others, using the power of the health team is so important, whether it's within our clinical practices, outside to other healthcare practices, into the community and community resources. And last but not least, really starting small for each of us, as well as personally, as well as even professionally, we can give that advice, because it can be overwhelming to try and take all of this on as a healthcare professional. And so if the listeners out there are thinking, gee, I'm really interested in this, it just sounds like a lot. I don't know where to start. Again, sage advice, start where you are, start with something small that seems very doable right here and now in your daily practice, and then build from there. So thank you. You've also mentioned some resources. And so tell us a little more about some of your favorite resources in lifestyle medicine, positive psychology, and beyond.
Oh boy, there's so many.
What are your favorites?
Well, I think my foundation for training was certainly, well, being involved in it, but the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, courses, materials, very high quality work. And that was really the process for the board certification. So a lot of my interests, because they've kind of been in these two pathways, I would call them medical fitness and mind-body medicine, and more recently work from the California Institute of Integral Studies. So for the first part, for the medical fitness, the American College of Sports Medicine has a lot of information on just the benefits of exercise and things that can be shared with patients, clients, to reinforce the message and to provide more direct guidance, as well as referral resources coming back to like the team and the community. Being a nutritionist and a personal trainer and a sleep instructor, therapist and a coach. It's a lot of hats to wear. So they also provide, I think, a good resource in being able to find those who are credentialed trainers, maybe in the community, in the neighborhood, or at least know what to look for. So that's one of the resources. For the medical fitness aspect, what comes up for me right now is I listen to other great podcasts where, on these topics, and some of my favorites, which, on my regular walks with my dog, a few of these who I really enjoy for their quality and kind of their no-nonsense elements. So Dr. Peter Attia has a terrific podcast, and he covers the full range, focused on longevity medicine, but really good interviews with researchers in exercise in particular. Dr. Lane Norton, BioLane, is another great resource for a podcast when it comes to exercise training in particular, kind of really like no nonsense sort of stuff. So that's in that domain. And when it comes to the mind-body medicine, I've really been grateful for my experiences with another institute called Nalanda. And that's really because I've had this just attraction to these contemplative practices growing up. I think I realized, like, I need to regulate my nervous system, otherwise it's not going to be a good situation. And they've been very powerful for me. And I think it's very accessible. You don't need anything. You have yourself. It's just the practice. So it's very accessible. And what I appreciated about the training programs, they have a couple of them. They also offer a lot of online resources. They have books available. They combine these contemplative traditions, primarily coming from like this Tibetan Buddhist background, with positive psychology. And they have this compassion-based resilience training of kind of building on mindfulness. So there's like the basic mindfulness and mindful awareness, and then it kind of progressively takes you through these next levels, these next layers of repairing, I would say, the wounds, the scars of prior trauma, which can be coming from other people, very difficult, deep things. So I found that very personally helpful of being able to get through the last 10, 15 years medical training and to come out without the baggage of resentment and feeling deterioration, to kind of seeing the opportunity and the brightness in the future, and understanding that there are others in this space, and we're building it all together. So those would be my kind of medical fitness resources, the specific ones in positive psychology that I've really appreciated. And my most recent one is this training with the California Institute of Integral Studies. They have a really terrific program on psychedelic therapy and research. That's the one I just completed this year. And I think it's very comprehensive. There's a lot of just wow. Experiences, light bulbs that happened. I think in addition to all the lifestyle medicine that's been missing in our training, this too is an element that I think is just starting off as we realize the potential positive impacts in this field.
Sounds like you've gotten some amazing wisdom and support from these leaders and others that are championing this mind-body medicine movement. And there are a number of, speaking of the champions and leaders, there are a number of strategies, angles, perspectives that are contributing to this. Of course, we've mentioned lifestyle medicine community, the positive psychology community. There's also the preventive medicine community, integrative medicine, functional medicine, obesity medicine, mind-body medicine. But we're all hovering, though, I think, around some central truth to health and well-being, and that part is really exciting. And as we jointly, because it takes a village, much more than a village, are moving the needle towards a self-care system and a healthcare system that really boosts health and happiness. What's your vision of that future? If we all succeed together, what would that look like?
So actually something that's really exciting from that I'm seeing develop in the last several years. Several years ago, there was this interesting conference called Hyper Wellbeing, and the speakers were not necessarily physicians. It was really a like individual, consumer, patient, human-centered wellness movement. And I think now with the increasing pace of wellness, digital health, and technologies, for example, the different companies, for better or worse, I think they're still in development that provide insights, analysis on your blood markers or your genetic testing or your fitness levels, and the devices that we have now for heart rate and sleep tracking and nutrition tracking. Like, it's wonderful. I think it ends up creating demand for specialists in lifestyle and preventive medicine, which will help drive the field forward, so that it's less about the big medical system that's driving this. It's really more of individuals who are taking charge and taking a part of an interest in their own health. And what does this mean? How does this work? And I think there's an opportunity there for creating spaces and programs and services that can provide evidence-based informed type of guidance and programming. So really coming from like a more grassroots level where individuals are more interested in their wellness. And I think it's also just changing times of clients who I see, let's say younger, 20s, 30s, 40s, or the different perspective. And I think just more engaged in their preventive well-being. So I see that, and less about the medical system. I think the medical system is going to be catching up with the demand. I think there's just a lot that's also just acute medical that needs to be addressed. That's the main focus of it. And the other area, which I'm curious about, is to see just the role of fitness centers, WISE community centers in the future, and how things shift as a result of technology and spaces for community development as we develop that. So that'll be interesting.
Amazing vision. Well, lovely. Well, as we wrap up this short podcast, any major takeaway you would like for our listeners to have in their minds as they close this session?
I feel so much of lifestyle medicine is just this work in process, and it's so much of it's an evolution that we're making the chapters and the pages, and we're writing them. And on one end, it can be a challenge. There's not necessarily a script to follow. However, on the side of positive psychology, and I think what a really important part of the self-directed neuroplasticity is this reframing and seeing the opportunity ahead. And to me personally, I think I have this tendency toward, say, impatience, being able to see the end product. I want to be there already. And there's this lovely park bench in the Malibu Mountains. And I'm not going to quote it exactly, but it says something like, it's important to have an end to journey toward, but it's the journey that matters in the end. And for me, that was really a take-home message of not just being focused on the end product of however it might look like, but to just settle in right where I am right now and to enjoy the process of development and creation for this field of lifestyle medicine and positive psychology. So that for me was my takeaway. That's been helpful to bring things back to the present moment and to really feel okay. As much as I'd like to be somewhere else. And in the future and the final design, we're getting there. And it's exciting to be part of the process and to enjoy moments like this together. We're building things from scratch, and just the gratitude.
Well, that sounds really amazing. You've got a fixation on a future that we're both passionate about. Can you sum that up succinctly?
Yes, I feel like having this individual empowerment, which is so necessary for all of lifestyle medicine, right? It's behavior change, and you can't force it upon anybody. And so seeing this kind of shift where individuals are having more access to their medical information, their wellness information, and seeking resources from providers who are science-based and skillful in lifestyle and preventive medicine, I think that's really the exciting next step for us as practitioners.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this podcast, what is one single takeaway you'd like our listeners to have in mind as they close this session?
Yeah, as I think back on this process and this kind of these questions about the future, it just brings up like, oh, but I want that future now. This anticipation, this desire for the future state in the present moment. And I feel like so much of it with lifestyle medicine is just like, well, it doesn't quite exist. You're trying to figure out there's this piece, there's that piece. There can be a lot of, elements of frustration, but reframing it in a positive psychology way that provides meaning and purpose, like, yes, we're building something interesting and exciting and worthwhile and valuable. And these are all, I'd say, honorable, noble goals to aspire to within medicine and wellness. So for me, it brings up, this image that I have in my mind, my memory of this beautiful park bench in the mountains in Malibu. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's right. So I'm not quoting it entirely accurately. This is from memory, but it says something toward the effect of, it's important to have an end to journey toward, but it's the journey that matters in the end. And to me, it's like, that's right. Like, I don't need to have it all figured out just this second, just this moment, that it's this beautiful experience together that we get to share and enjoy and build collaboratively. And it creates this appreciation, this gratitude of being able to settle in the present moment while continuing to work every day on the progress forward. So thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Thank you. We actually had one more glitch. Let's try that last question one more time, of course. One more time and we'll piece it together. As we wrap up this podcast, what is one major takeaway you would like for our listeners to keep in mind as they close the session?
Yes. So I feel that this process of development in lifestyle and preventive medicine has just been so many different turns and ups and downs and sideways and spins. And for me, it's been very helpful to bring to mind a park bench message that I saw in the mountains in Malibu one day. Because my tendency is, I want that future state right now. And it's not here yet. There's all this potential frustration, and to reframe it in a way that's beneficial and supportive. And so I'm not going to quote it exactly correctly, but it's something along the lines of, it's important to have an end to journey toward, but it's the journey that matters in the end. And for me, I'm just very grateful to be able to sit in the present moment and be in this process with a loving community and incredible people. So I appreciate this very much, Liana.
Thank you. I really enjoy the journey with you as a friend and as a health professional colleague. So thank you for joining the GPHI podcast. And thank you to our listeners. We hope to see you on another one of these GPHI podcasts. And please subscribe to our channel. See you again. Be happy, be safe, healthy. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.